The helmet is burned, blackened by heat, warped by flames. The plastic shield melted into an unrecognizable shape, but the name is still visible, etched in a metal plate on the front. Captain James Morrison, the firefighter standing on stage, holds this helmet like it is made of glass, like it might shatter if he grips it too tight. He is not wearing his dress uniform. He is wearing his work clothes, dirty, stained, smelling faintly of smoke even now. He looks like he has not slept in days. Because he has not. He looks like he has been crying. Because he has been. And he looks like he is about to say something that will break him completely. Because he is. Oprah sits across from him. She does not know why he is here. The producers told her only that a firefighter had an important story to share. A story about sacrifice. A story about loss. A story the world needed to hear. But they did not tell her the details. They did not know the details. No one did. Until now. The firefighter looks at Oprah. His eyes are hollow. 16 days ago, he says. His voice is barely audible. We responded to a fire in an apartment building. 17 stories. Flames on every floor. Worst fire I have seen in 23 years. He pauses. We saved 41 people that night. He looks at the helmet. But we lost one. He sets the helmet on the table between them. And he says something that makes Oprah's heart stop. The one we lost was my wife. The studio goes completely silent. 400 people hold their breath. And the firefighter, this broken man holding his wife's burned helmet, begins to tell a story that will change everything Oprah thinks she knows about love and sacrifice and the impossible choices people make in the worst moments of their lives. How do we get here? Rewind 111 minutes. The morning had begun with confusion. The production team had received a call at 6 a.m. A man identifying himself as Lieutenant David Morrison had asked to speak on the show. He said he had something important to share. He said it could not wait. He said he would be there at 8 a.m. whether they agreed or not. The production team had tried to gather information. They had searched news archives. They had found stories about the Parkview Apartments fire, 17-story building, electrical failure, rapid spread, 41 rescued, 1 firefighter killed in the line of duty. Captain James Morrison, 23 years of service, survived by her husband Lieutenant David Morrison, also a firefighter, also on scene that night. The production team had realized what they were dealing with. A man who had lost his wife, a man who had been there when it happened, a man who wanted to tell his story to the world. They had agreed to let him on. They had not told Oprah the details. They wanted her reaction to be genuine. They wanted the audience to experience the story as it unfolded. They got more than they bargained for. David Morrison arrived at the studio at 7:45 a.m. He was carrying the helmet. He refused to let anyone else touch it. He sat in the green room for 2 hours without speaking. He just held the helmet and stared at the wall. When it was time to go on stage, he stood up slowly. He walked like a man carrying an invisible weight. He walked like a man who had already died and was just waiting for his body to catch up. Subscribe and leave a comment because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. Oprah watched David set the helmet on the table. She saw the name. Captain James Morrison. She saw the damage. The melted plastic. The blackened surface. The evidence of heat so intense it had destroyed everything in its path. Your wife, Oprah said slowly. Your wife was a firefighter? David nodded. Captain, he said. She made captain 6 years ago. First woman to hold that rank in our department. She worked twice as hard as anyone else to prove she deserved it. He touched the helmet. She did deserve it, he said. She was the best firefighter I ever knew. The best person I ever knew. His voice cracked. Oprah leaned forward. Tell me about that night. She said gently. Tell me what happened. David closed his eyes. We responded to the call together, he said. Same truck, same crew. That is how it had always been. 21 years of marriage. 23 years of working side by side. He opened his eyes. When we got there, the building was fully involved. Flames shooting out of windows on every floor. People screaming from balconies. It was chaos. He shook his head. We split up. I took a team to the lower floors. James took a team to the upper floors. That was standard protocol. Divide and conquer. Save as many as possible. He paused. I did not know it would be the last time I saw her alive. Oprah's eyes were wet. We cleared the lower floors, David continued. 18 people. We got them out. We went back in. We cleared more. 23, 27, 31. He looked at the helmet. And then I heard the call on the radio, he said. His voice was barely a whisper now. Officer down. 17th floor. Captain Morrison. He closed his eyes again. I ran, he said. 15 flights of stairs. Full gear. 80 pounds of equipment. I ran faster than I have ever run in my life. He opened his eyes, but I was too late. Behind the scenes, Oprah made a decision that defied every producer's expectation. She stood up. She walked around the table. She sat down in the chair next to David, not across from him, beside him. Tell me what happened on that 17th floor, she said. Tell me everything. David's hands were shaking now. When I got there, the hallway was collapsed. Fire everywhere. I could hear her on the radio. She was trapped. A beam had fallen. She could not move. He wiped his eyes roughly. And there was a family with her, he said. A mother and father. They had refused to leave their apartment until James got there. And when the ceiling collapsed, she had pushed them out of the way. He looked at Oprah. She saved them, he said. She took the impact so they would survive. Oprah put her hand on his arm. I reached her on the radio, David continued. She was calm. So calm. She always was. Even in the worst situations. She would be the calm one. He smiled slightly through his tears. She said, David, I need you to listen to me. I'm not going to make it out of here. The fire is too close. The structure is too unstable. But the family I saved is in the stairwell. They need you to get them out. His voice broke completely. She asked me to choose, he said, between trying to save her and saving the family she had already sacrificed herself for. Oprah felt her chest constrict. What did you do? She asked. David looked at the helmet. I chose, he said. This is the moment no one in the studio and no one watching at home ever saw coming. David was silent for a long moment. The weight of what he was about to say filled the space between them. I went to the stairwell. He finally said, I found a family. A man and woman. Both injured. Smoke inhalation. Burns on their arms. He paused, and the woman was pregnant. Oprah's hand flew to her mouth. 7 months pregnant, David said. James had not mentioned that on the radio. She did not want me to know. She did not want to make it harder than it already was. He shook his head. But she knew, he said. She knew there were 3 lives in that stairwell. 3 lives that would be lost if I stayed to try to save her. He looked at Oprah. So she made the choice for me, he said. She made me leave her behind to save a pregnant woman and her husband. She made me abandon my wife so a baby could live. The audience was weeping. Oprah was weeping. David was weeping. But he was not done. I got them out, he said. I carried the woman down 11 flights of stairs. Her husband stumbled behind us. We made it to the street just as the 17th floor collapsed completely. He touched the helmet again. They found her body the next morning, he said. She was still in the hallway where the beam fell. Still in the position she must have been in when she pushed that family to safety. He lifted the helmet. This is all that survived, he said. This and the memories I will carry for the rest of my life. Oprah could not speak. She just sat there, holding David's arm, trying to find words that did not exist. But David was not finished. I need to tell you something else, he said. Something I have not told anyone. Oprah nodded. The last thing James said to me on the radio, David continued. The very last words before the signal cut out. He took a breath. She said, I love you, David. I have loved you since the day we met. And I need you to know that this is not a sacrifice. This is a choice. I am choosing to save them. I am choosing to give them the future we never got to have. He was sobbing now. She said, we never had children. But today, I'm giving a child a chance to be born. That is enough. That is worth everything. He clutched the helmet to his chest. And then she was gone, he said. And I was standing in a stairwell with a pregnant woman asking me if my wife was going to be okay. He looked at Oprah. I lied to her, he said. I told her yes. I told her everything was fine. I carried her down 11 flights of stairs, telling her my wife was right behind us. He shook his head. I did not have the strength to tell her the truth. Not then. Not while I was still trying to save her. share, and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. Oprah finally found her voice. Have you spoken to her since? She asked. The woman James saved? David nodded slowly. Once, he said, 3 days after the fire. She found me at the hospital where she was recovering. She came to my room. He paused. She did not know who I was, he said. She did not know I was James's husband. She just knew I was the firefighter who carried her out. He wiped his eyes. She said thank you. She said I had saved her baby's life. She said she would never forget what I did. His voice cracked. And I cannot tell her, he said. I cannot tell her that my wife was the one who really saved her. That James died so she could live. That I was just finishing what James started. Oprah squeezed his arm. Why are you here today, David? She asked. Why did you need to tell this story? David set the helmet on the table again. Because in 9 days, he said, that woman is going to give birth. Oprah's breath caught. And I found out something, David continued. Something that changes everything. What? David reached into his pocket. He pulled out a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it slowly. The hospital called me, he said. They said the woman wanted to see me before the baby was born. She said she had something important to tell me. He handed the paper to Oprah. She had found out who I really was, he said. She had done research. She had discovered that James was my wife. That James was the one who pushed her to safety. That James was the one who died. Oprah looked at the paper. It was a form, a birth certificate application. The name field was filled in. Baby girl Morrison. Oprah looked at David. She is naming the baby after James? She whispered. David nodded. She said she wanted the baby to carry the name of the woman who gave her life, he said. She said it was the only way she could honor the sacrifice. He looked at the helmet. She asked me to be the baby's godfather, he said. She said James saved 3 lives that night. Hers, her husband's, and their daughters. She said the least she could do was make sure James's name lived on. He touched the burned plastic. I said yes, he said. I said yes because it is what James would have wanted. She always wanted children. We tried for years. It never happened. His voice broke again. But now there's going to be a baby named Morrison, he said. A baby who exists because my wife chose to die. A baby who will grow up knowing that her life was a gift from a woman she will never meet. He looked at Oprah. That is why I am here, he said. I needed the world to know who James was. Not just a name in a news story. Not just a statistic. A real person. A hero. The love of my life. He picked up the helmet. And I needed to say goodbye, he said. I have been carrying this helmet for 16 days. I have been carrying it because I could not let go. I could not accept that she is really gone. He held it out toward Oprah. But I think I am ready now, he said. I think I am ready to let her go. And I wanted to do it here, in front of the world, so everyone knows what she did. Oprah took the helmet. She held it gently. She felt the weight of it, the weight of a life, the weight of a sacrifice, the weight of a love so deep it transcended death. She looked at the name etched into the metal. Captain James Morrison, and she made a decision. David, she said, I want to do something, with your permission. What? I want to help, she said. I want to establish a scholarship in James's name for women who want to become firefighters. So her legacy lives on in ways beyond one baby, in dozens of women, hundreds, who follow in her footsteps. David's face crumpled. She would have loved that, he whispered. Then let us do it, Oprah said. Let's make sure Captain James Morrison is never forgotten. The episode aired 1 week later. It became the most emotional episode in the history of the show. Millions of people watched David tell his story. Millions of people wept for a woman they had never met. Millions of people understood, perhaps for the first time, what real sacrifice looks like. The Captain James Morrison Scholarship Fund was established within days. Donations poured in from around the world. Within a year, it had funded training for over 200 women to become firefighters. Within 5 years, that number had grown to over 1,000. James's legacy was multiplying. Her sacrifice was echoing through generations. Baby Morrison was born 9 days after the show aired. Her full name was Jamie Morrison Chun. Jamie for James. Morrison for the woman who gave her life. David was there for the birth. He held the baby before anyone else except her parents. He looked into her eyes. and he whispered something that only Jamie could hear. Your name means something, little one. It means courage. It means sacrifice. It means choosing others over yourself. Live up to it. Jamie is 5 years old now. She knows the story. Her parents have told her. She has seen the photograph of the woman she is named after. She has met David many times. She calls him Uncle David. And every year on the anniversary of the fire, they visit James's grave together. They lay flowers. They tell stories. They make sure Jamie knows. David retired from the fire department 2 years after James died. He could not do it anymore. Not without her. But he did not disappear. He became an advocate. He speaks at fire academies. He tells James's story. He makes sure every new firefighter knows what sacrifice really means. He has given over 300 speeches. Each one begins the same way. Let me tell you about my wife, Captain James Morrison, the bravest person I ever knew. The woman who taught me that love is not what you say, it is what you choose. In the worst moment, under the worst conditions, when everything is on fire, he pauses when he says this. And then he says something that makes every audience fall silent. She chose to die so a baby could be born. That is who she was. That is the standard she set. And that is what I challenge every one of you to aspire to. He has never remarried. He says he had one great love. That was enough. The helmet sits in the Smithsonian now, in the exhibit on American heroism. Next to it is a photograph of James in her dress uniform. And beneath both is a plaque with words that Oprah wrote. Captain James Morrison gave her life so a stranger could become a mother. In doing so, she proved that the greatest love is not the love we receive. It is the love we give. Even when giving costs us everything. There is one final detail that most people do not know. When David handed the helmet to Oprah that day on stage, something fell out. A small piece of paper, folded and tucked inside the helmet's lining. It had survived the fire somehow. Protected by layers of material. It was a note, written in James's handwriting. It said, David, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. I want you to know that I have no regrets. Every day with you has been a gift. Every fire we fought together has been an honor. Do not mourn me too long. Live, love, find joy, and remember that I am not really gone. I'm just waiting for you, on the other side of the flames, where the heat cannot reach us anymore. I love you forever. James. David did not know the note existed until that moment. When it fell from the helmet. When Oprah picked it up. When she read it silently and then handed it to him without a word. He read it on stage. He wept. And he knew. She had written it years ago. Tucked it into her helmet just in case. Just in case the worst happened. She had prepared her goodbye before she even knew she would need it. That was James. Always prepared. Always thinking ahead. Always loving him even from beyond the grave. He carries that note everywhere now. In his wallet. Close to his heart. Where she always was. Where she always will be. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another story like this. Because there are more heroes waiting to be honored. More sacrifices waiting to be told. More love stories that ended in tragedy but still deserve to be remembered. And somewhere out there, someone is making a choice right now. A choice to put others first. A choice to sacrifice something precious. A choice that might cost them everything. Honor them. Remember them. Tell their stories. Because that is how love survives. Not in the flames, but in the telling. In the remembering. In the refusing to let their names be forgotten. Captain James Morrison. Remember her.